Hi, this is Shankar Reddy, lecturer in political science from Government Junior College for Girls, Maredpalli, Secunderabad. In previous class, we covered Indian Council Act 1909, that is Minto-Marley Reforms Act 1909. At the same time, Indian Government Act 1919. In this class, we will try to cover the Government of India Act 1935, at the same time the Independence Act 1947. Let us try to understand the Government of India Act 1935 historical background. You know very well, by the Act of 1919, the Britishers introduced responsible government. Responsible government. That responsible government is not succeed, you know very well, because of the Government of India Act 1919. The Simon Commission was appointed by the British government for review the Government of India Act 1919. Then while Simon Commission entered into India, we made revolt against the Simon Commission, named on Simon agitation. That means Simon go back. We are wherever the Simon Commission visited, we said Simon go back. Simon go back. That was the Simon agitation because of the failure of responsible government only. So whereas for fulfilling that failures, the Government of India Act formulated in the year 1935. So this act marked a second milestone towards complete responsible government in India. So responsible government introduced by 1919 Government of India Act, whereas the complete responsible government introduced by the Act of 1935. The report of Simon Commission and the round table conferences were the basis of the Act of 1935. You know very well, Simon Commission visited in the year 1927 for reviewing the 1919 Government of India Act. They entered first Mumbai in the year 1928. Then after the Simon Commission report, that means Simon Commission submitted its report in the year 1930. Based on the Simon Commission report, the British government, Ramsay MacDonald, invited all parties for the roundtable conferences which are held in London. So they held three roundtable conferences. First roundtable conferences in the year 1930, second roundtable conference in the year 1931, and third roundtable conference in the year 1932. They held three roundtable conferences for discussing on Simon Commission report. After the conclusion of the roundtable conferences, they released white paper. White paper. This is the basis of the Government of India Act 1935. So this act was a lengthy and detailed document which consists 321 sections and 10 schedules. So which is the very lengthiest act which is passed by the British government towards reforms in India. At the same time, this act is considered as mother source of the Indian Constitution. Which act is considered as a mother source of Indian Constitution? The Government of India Act 1935 is considered as mother source of Indian Constitution. It is the Xerox of the Indian Constitution. That's why it around 70% of the provisions have been taken from this Government of India Act 1935 only. We introduced in Indian Constitution later on. That's why it is the basis of government of it is the basis of Indian Constitution. The Government of India Act 1935 is the basis of Indian Constitution. Let us try to understand what are the main provisions of 1935 Government of India Act. Here, the Government of India Act 1935 provided for the establishment of All India Federation. So this is a very important landmark in Indian history or Indian constitutional development, because for the first time the Government of India Act 1935 introduced federal system. Federal system means this is the one type of system which is the combination of both the union government as well as state government. That means here there was a collaboration with the central government and the state government. There was a division of powers between the union government and state government. There was a two legislatures which is existed at the union level as well as state level. That was here, along with the central government, provincial governments also enjoy some of the powers under the federation system. This is the first time introduced in India, that was All India Federation, which which is consisting of provinces and princely state as units. So which federation consists units, the units are provinces, that means states as well as the princely states. Princely states are nothing but the states which are ruled by the our native kings. So these are the parts of the federation according to the Government of India 1935. At the same time, this act divided the powers between the center and the provinces. Enter the powers divided into the three lists, nothing but federal list, provincial list, concurrent list. Which act divided the entire the powers between the union government or central government, state government? Government of India Act 1935. It was classified entire the powers into three different lists, namely federal list, provincial list, concurrent list. On the federal list, the federal government, nothing but the central government, enjoyed the power. That means the list which is consists the subjects or the provisions entire vested with the union government. And overall the federal list, the law-making powers enjoyed by whom? Federal government, nothing but the central government. And the provincial lists, which are consisted regional subjects. These regional subjects vested with the provinces, states only. On entire the provincial list, the states are having the power to formulate laws. What about concurrent list? Concurrent list is the list which consists the either national subjects or provincial subjects. That means these subjects are both the national important as well as regional important subjects. Under these subjects, who enjoy the power? Both the union government, at the same time provincial government enjoy the power to formulate laws. So these are the lists which are divided by the Government of India Act 1935. What are the lists? Federal list or nothing but the union list, provincial list, at the same time concurrent list. The next provision is that abolition of the diarchy system in the provinces, at the same time introduced provincial autonomy. So you know very well the diarchy system introduced by the Act of 1919 at which level? Provincial level. Whereas this diarchy system abolished by which act? Government of India Act 1935. At the same time they introduced provincial autonomy. So what is the diarchy system? You know very well. Enter the subjects of provinces divided into transferred subjects and reserved subjects. That means there was a intervention of the Britishers for making the rules in the provincial level, whereas by this act enter the subjects allowed to the Indian ministers, that was provincial autonomy. There is no classification based on reserved subject, transferred subjects. All the subjects given to the Indian ministers only. That was abolition of diarchy system at provinces. At the same time, this diarchy system introduced at central level, whereas this was abolished at provincial level and introduced provincial autonomy. This is a very important development. At the same time, this act provided diarchy system at which level? Central level. They abolished at provincial state level. At the same time, they introduced at union level, central level. Again, the central subjects are classified into two sections, that was transferred subjects, reserved subject. Transferred subject, reserved. Reserved subjects enjoyed by the British ministers, transferred subjects enjoyed by the Indian ministers. At which level? Central level. So they abolished diarchy system at provincial level and introduced at central level. And also this act introduced bicameralism in the provincial level. You know that bicameral system first time introduced by Government of India Act 1919, we already discussed it. This bicameral system introduced for the first time at provincial level also. So here there are 11 provinces at the time of British colonial rule. Out of the 11 provinces, they introduced bicameral system in 6 provinces. 6 provinces. This is a very important development. At the same time, this act further extended the principle of communal representation to SCs, scheduled castes, women and the workers. The Government of India Act 1909 introduced for the communal representation first time, whereas this was extended by 1919 Act, and this was extended to more people by the Act of 1935, such as scheduled caste, women and workers also. So these are the some of the important or main provisions. Let us try to continue. This act extended franchise. The Government of India Act 1935 extended right to vote franchise to whom? That means the limited franchise introduced by Government of India Act 1919, but by the Act of 1935 the right to vote extended to many people. That was about 10% of the total population got the voting right by the Act of 1935. Out of the 100, 10% of the 10% of the population enjoyed the right to vote by the Act of 1935. At the same time, this act increased in the strength and powers of elected members with enlarged membership both in central and provincial legislature. You know that regarding to the legislative reforms, this act increased strength as well as the powers which are given to the legislative members at the central level as well as provincial level. At the same time, by this act, governors were given special powers. The Government of India Act 1935 allowed governors to enjoy on special powers. So what are the special powers? Here they could veto legislative actions and legislative on their own. That means here the Government of India Act 1935 introduced some special powers to the governors. What are the special powers here? They may veto. That means they veto the legislative which is passed by the legislature. That means the legislature formulated the laws, which laws are sent to the governor for his approval. At the time, governor could veto the legislative act, that was the laws which are already sent by the legislature. Instead of that, they may separate legislature or separate legislation that was a law on their own manner. This is also one of the important provision. Once again, I'm trying to clarify here. The Government of India Act given some of the special powers to the governors. They are veto powers. What are the veto powers? Veto powers are nothing but the rejection powers. The legislature which sent to the governor for his approval all the bills. After the approval of the governor only the bills became laws. At that time governor may that means reject the bill, may veto the bill. Instead of the rejection, he may formulate laws based on his own manner. This is the clarification about the veto powers. And now we enjoyed the veto powers by President of India in our own constitution. At the same time, this act provided the Secretary of State for India. The Government of India Act 1935 provide Secretary of State for India with a team of advisors. For the first time, this was the new system, new portfolio introduced by Government of India Act 1935. That was Secretary of State for India. He was the British minister. He observed the Indian affairs. He assisted by some of the team members for advising him. Okay, this is also one important provision. Then the next provision is that this act provided for the establishment of a Reserve Bank of India to control the currency and credit of the country. For the first time, the Government of India Act suggested or provided for the establishment of Reserve Bank in India. So you know very well, based on the recommendation of 1935 Government of India Act, our Reserve Bank was established. Okay, then this act provided for the establishment of not only a Federal Public Service Commission. You know that in the Government of India Act 1935, the first time introduced one Public Service Commission for recruiting ICS officers. Whereas by the Act of 1935, the Government of Britain, that means the British government introduced Federal Public Service Commission along with Provincial Public Service Commission for two or more provinces. Understood? So these are the some of the important provisions of Government of India Act 1935. And last but not least is that this act provided for the establishment of federal court, which was set up in the year 1935. The Government of India Act introduced federal court. Now the federal court is called as Supreme Court of India. So here the Government of India Act provided Reserve Bank and Federal Public Service Commission, Provincial Public Service Commission, at the same time Federal Court. These are the important provisions of Government of India Act 1935. This act was criticized a lot. Let us try to understand the criticism of the Government of India Act 1935. The Government of India Act 1935 firmly laid the foundation of the establishment of an All India Federation in India. This act has made attempts to establish responsible government in the provinces. These are the main provisions, main developments which are first time established All India Federation. You know very well the All India Federation, which is established at union level, which consists the states and the princely states as units. They enjoyed there was a bifurcation of the powers, there was a division of powers. Okay, at the same time they introduced a more responsible form of government. This act was criticized for a number of limitations and drawbacks. They are though this act had increased the strength and powers of legislature. Only the 14% of the Indians were eligible to vote. You know that this act increased the strength and the number of the legislative members, whereas this act allowed to the 14% of the Indians to cast their vote. Okay, that's why here this was also one of the limitation, one of the drawback of the Government of India Act 1935. At the same time, major control was still under the Britishers. You know that by the Act of 1935, they introduced diarchy system at union level. By the diarchy system, the reserved subject vested with Britishers. That's why there was a major control was still under the British government, Britishers. This is also one of the drawback of the Government of India Act 1935. This act did not satisfy the aspirations of the Indians for complete independence. You know that Indians asked the complete independence, but this act was not satisfied, did not satisfy the Indians regarding to the aspirations of complete independence. This was only introduced the All India Federation, but this All India Federation also not implemented properly. Okay, this act was severely criticized for veto power, providing veto power to the governor generals. You know, already we discussed veto powers are nothing but the rejection powers. So here this Government of India Act allowed to the governors enjoy the veto power. So these veto powers also considered as one of the limitations on the legislative powers of the union legislature as well as state legislature. So as a result of these many limitations, this act was rejected by the Indian National Congress. This act also rejected by Indian National Congress and demanded for complete independence and formulation of Constituent Assembly to draft a new constitution. So this act was not satisfied to the Indians. That's why the representation of Indians, nothing but the Indian National Congress, criticized and rejected this Government of India Act 1935 and demanded for complete independence, Purna Swaraj, full independence, and to establish Constituent Assembly to draft a new constitution. So this is about Government of India Act 1935. 1947. This act is the last and the final act which is formulated and implemented by the British government for India. Now after this act, we attain independence. That's why no need of introduction of Britishers for India. So that's why this is the last and the final act which are introduced by the Britishers. After this, we only formulated laws for India. It was the product of the combined efforts. This act was the product of combined efforts of Lord Mountbatten, who is the last Governor General of India. At the same time, Lord Clement Attlee was the Prime Minister of Britain at the time. So Lord Mountbatten formulated Mountbatten Plan. This is the basic source of the Indian Independence Act. Based on the Mountbatten Plan only, India was divided into India and Pakistan. You know very well. That's why here based on the Mountbatten Plan and the Lord Clement Attlee's guidelines says the Indian Independence Act was formulated. The draft act was introduced in the British House of Commons on July 4th 1947, July 4th 1947, and this was approved by Roy, that means British Queen, that was royal assent on the July 18th 1947. Please correct it, 1947. So let us try to understand what are the important provisions of Indian Independence Act 1947. So this act ended the British rule in India. So Indian Independence Act entered the British rule in India. At the same time, it declared India as an independent and sovereign state. Declared India as an independent and sovereign state from August 15th, 1947. So from August 15th, 1947, India declared as independent and sovereign state. And also it provided for the partition of India and creation of two independent dominions such as India and Pakistan. This Independence Act of 1947 provided for the partition of India. The United India was divided into two independent dominions such as India and Pakistan. The two constant assemblies shall be formed each for India and Pakistan and work as constitution making bodies as well as legislative bodies in their respective dominions or domains. So here the government of India, nothing but the Indian Independence Act separated India and Pakistan, divided or partitioned India and Pakistan, and allowed to form two different constant assemblies for framing constitution, as well as these constant assemblies worked as legislature before the establishment of the legislative assemblies. That means before the held the elections, they constant assemblies only acted as legislature also. That means here the constant assembly of India and the Pakistan enjoyed both the constitutional powers as well as the legislative powers. Later we will discuss in the constant assembly topic. Okay, the British supremacy over the British India and the princely state shall cease to exist. Okay, this was the very important provision. The princely states would be free to join either dominions or remain independent. So they are allowed to join either India or Pakistan and or remain independent. And the next development is that the territories of the both dominions were defined, but they were empowered to include or exclude their territories themselves. So this is also one of the, for the bifurcation, for the separation of boundaries, you know that they appoint one committee. So that committee was separated the boundaries between the India and Pakistan. Okay, then here the next provision is that it provided for the governance of each of the dominions and the provinces by the government of India Act 1935. That means this act allowed to run the government based on the Government of India Act 1935. You know very well, Government of India Act 1935 is the very detailed act which are passed by the British government for India. So according to the Indian Independence Act 1947, they allowed Government of India Act 1935 as the source of the governance, okay, till the new constitution were framed. So these are the important provisions of Indian Independence Act 1935. The Indian Independence Act 1935 allowed to India as independent and sovereign country. It separated India into a Indian as well as Indian country as well as Pakistan, and also it allowed the princely states to join into the either India or Pakistan or remain independent. At the same time, this act is allowed to the governments to choose to run their government based on the Government of India Act 1935 until the new constitution was formulated. So these are the important provisions. Let us try to understand important questions of this area. One is mention the important provisions and criticism on the Government of India Act 1935. 35. It is the essay 1, 10 marks 1. If they ask like this, you have to mention the brief introduction of Government of India Act 1935 and the important provisions. Finally, small criticism which are given by me in the topic, you have to mention under the conclusion. Okay, so this is the mode of the answer of Government of India Act 1935. And what are the important provisions of Government of India Act 1919? It is the short answer which consists 5 marks 1. You have to mention the brief introduction one in 1 2 or lines, 1 or 2 lines. At the same time, mention important provisions and the point out the main provisions of India Independence Act or the Indian Independence Act 1947. It is also short answer which consists 5 marks. Okay. At the same time, Minto Marley Reforms Act, very short answer which is 2 marks 1. Okay. So these are the important questions from this area. You have to try to understand.